good stuff. Yes. We have Sanika Dulani. She's a PhD student here at UTA. And we have Dr. Carol Kirkpatrick. She is a business integration manager and enterprise architect for Bell Helicopter. She has over 30 years of experience in IT. And I let them to explain their background more. I just want to introduce. And Dr. Ming Li, she is our own young faculty, right, at UTA. And we have Dr. Azad Nazi. She is our UTA alumni as well as here, right? And she worked with Gautam Das, right? And now she's at Google Brain AI, right? And we have Dr. Cesar Torres, again, our young faculty at UTA. And he received his PhD at UC Berkeley, right? And now I want them to introduce themselves a little bit more. Perhaps talk about your background, especially when did you do your undergrad, your grad, and then we start the discussion.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm Carol Kirkpatrick. As she said, I work for Bell Helicopter. I graduated with my undergraduate degree in 1982. Yes, I'm old. It's okay. I fully admit it. I had my undergraduate degree is in chemistry. I graduated in '88 with my PhD in mathematical sciences. Notice there's no master's in between there because I already knew I was going to go straight for a PhD. But I figured I wasn't going to stop. Just kept on going through there. I work for Bell Helicopter. As she said, I'm a business integration manager, which means what my primary responsibilities are is I have to work with both the business as well as with IT and try to translate what they need and want into IT terms and IT terms back into the business. I work primarily in the manufacturing area, so I get to see a lot of cool stuff, like composites and drive systems and how they put those together, so that's really kind of neat. I've been at Bell 25 of the last 33. I was gone for about 7 years because I just knew I was going to make my fortune in a startup. Didn't quite happen, but it was still a very good experience. I was actually in New York City during 9/11, so that was another very interesting experience, one I care never to repeat again. When you walk across Times Square, if you've ever been to New York City, Times Square it's always full of people. It was not that day. There was no one in the city at all. So it was fun. I think. So my PhD thesis was localized molecular orbitals of transition metal complexes. I also had my daughter while I was in graduate school, and I swear that was going to be her first words. Because I was doing my thesis while I was pregnant, so I was pretty sure that's what she was going to say. Graduate school for me was it was great. I mean, I had a wonderful professor who worked with me and made it that way, and a lot of students that worked with us, and I still keep in contact with both my major professor and several of the grad students I went through.
Thank you very much.
Both degrees were from UTA?
Yes, both degrees are from UTA.
Hi everyone, I'm Azadeh. I'm a research scientist at Google Brain. I did actually my undergrad and master back in Iran. My undergrad was in computer science in Azad University, Tehran North, and my master was in Sharif University. And then I came to US, to UTA actually, for my PhD. It had a lot of challenges, but yeah, it took me 6 years to get a PhD. I switched once in between. It was fun, and then I went to Microsoft Research as a postdoc, and then after that I joined AI residency at Google, and then I switched to the research science. I slightly switched to deep learning, still doing graph, and basically now I'm doing peer research on graph problems and optimization problems. But still the goal is to use the deep learning to try to do optimization over different kind of graphs and different problems. And the hope is to generalize on different data sets.
Okay, thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Sanika Dulani and currently I'm a 4th year PhD student here studying in UT Arlington. Okay, this is a bit nerve-wracking because all of the people around me are doctors and I should probably be there with you guys, but I came from there, so I completely understand your journey, and today I'm here just to share my experiences. I did my bachelor's in computer engineering in India from University of Mumbai, and then I came here in 2014 to do my master's in computer science. And during that time, I joined a lab here, Heraclea Lab. It's a human-computer interaction lab. And there, my advisor, my professor, she gave, I think it's like the things that you think in your life that I want to do something great, something big, or something exciting. You think and things, I don't know what happens, people just start helping you. So my advisor, she really encouraged me that I should do a thesis. So in my master's program, there are 2 options. You can do non-thesis and thesis. So in a thesis track, you do a small research project. I did that research project on virtual reality, which was new in 2015. Because Facebook bought Oculus Rift and it became new comparatively. So I did that project and the project was really successful. I got an outstanding master's thesis award, and my professor, she encouraged that every girl should have a PhD. You should definitely do a PhD. And that's how I think I just stayed here and I started my PhD, and currently I'm in my 4th year. So this has been my journey so far. And I'm happy to share any questions that you have or anything that you would like to ask me.
We are very happy to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Hi everybody, my name is Cesar Torres. I'm an assistant professor here at UTA in the Computer Science and Engineering Department. My journey actually begins here in Texas. I was born and raised in El Paso. From El Paso, I moved to California to do my bachelor's at Stanford University. I started off as an art major. I took this class called Art and Electronics, and I was absolutely mesmerized by all the things that you could create that still has some computation and electronics embedded into that. So I enrolled as a dual major in the computer science program, and I graduated with both degrees back in 2013. During those years, I spent every summer doing a REU, a research experience for undergrads at different institutions. I did my first one at UTEP, UT El Paso. I did my second one at MIT as part of their summer research program, which is specifically tailored towards minority students. And then I finally started doing research in my home institution at Stanford, partly because I was terrified of talking to professors. I always felt like an imposter during all of my undergrad, and it was until I became part of a research group during my senior year that was led by a very senior PhD student. Her name is Ranjita Kumar. She later became an assistant professor at UCIC, Urbana-Champaign. But I love the research that she was doing because it was just so different from what you would see traditionally in the computer science department. From there, I graduated and I went over to the rival school across the bay, UC Berkeley. And I chose that school because of this great interaction I had with the advisor. One thing that my advisor did was he reached out to my art professor and said, please try helping me convince Cesar to come over to UC Berkeley. And I thought, he knew the same people that I knew. He knew those crowds that I wanted to be integrated in. And so I did my PhD with him. He was starting out a digital fabrication lab. Had I ever done digital fabrication before? No. In fact, the last class that I took begrudgingly was physics before I could finally graduate. And it turns out that was the class that I used most during my PhD. It took me 6 years to finally get my PhD. My thesis title was Hybrid Aesthetics, Merging Material Practices and Digital Fabrication through Crafting Proxies. And now this is I've been here 5 months here at UTA, and I've started my own digital fabrication lab. You'll see we're doing a workshop. We have some fun things to show you. Thank you.
Awesome.
Hello everyone, my name is Ming Li, one of the survivors of PhD study. In fact, I enjoyed my PhD study a lot. So I got my bachelor and master degree back in China, and then I came to US and got my PhD degree in computer engineering from Mississippi State University. I spent about 4 years to get my PhD degree. So partly because I've already got a master's degree back in China, so that master's degree helped me to accelerate the PhD study process. Right now, my research interests include IoT, mobile computing, mobile sensing, focusing on their novel applications in smart health, smart living, smart transportation, and also focus on the security and the privacy aspects of these applications. So today I'm very happy to be here, and I have a lot of experience, not only about my study, but also my working experience after being a faculty member. By the way, before I joined the UTA back in 2018, I was an assistant professor of University of Nevada, Reno. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. As you may notice, we have a very diverse panel, and one started a startup, the other one joined a big company, did postdoc, and they have different experiences. So our audience basically doing their, I think they are doing computer science here, most of them, and they are in second, third, and fourth year, and they're gonna graduate in a few years. And probably right now they are evaluating and thinking, is doing a PhD or getting a graduate degree is good for them, is a good option, or it's better for them to just join the industry and do something there. I want a couple of you say your experience. I'm sure everyone goes through this thought process, and you always put everything, try to see what advantages this one has, the other one has, and try to make a decision. And it's different for every person, and I think there's no good answer for it, but I want to see what you think. Who wants to do it first? Okay.
I'll take it. So it was probably 6 or 7 months before I graduated when I was talking with my physical chem professor, who turned out to be my major professor throughout my PhD. And we sat down and talked about it, and I decided I wanted to get a PhD, and I was gonna go straight through, because if I ever stopped and actually made money, I wasn't gonna wanna go back, because it's hard to do a PhD while working full-time. So I decided I was gonna go through, and to me, it's paid off. I've had more doors open for me in industry because I had a PhD. Because a PhD says, this person made it all the way through graduate school, they've got the intelligence, they've got the fortitude, they know what they want to do, and they're going for it. And that's really good things to be able to have in industry.
Thank you very much. But also I want to know, like, what about, did you think about doing master instead of PhD? Like, any of you?
So for me, it was like that back in Iran, we don't have an option to go to direct PhD. So you should finish your master first, get experience of doing research a little bit, and then go for PhD. So I had an option to start applying for other universities not in Iran or staying in Iran. So I come from a very big family, and I even didn't see myself not being with them. So I wanted to do, you know, more. I kind of want to, you know, it was for me like that, yeah, I want to do the grad school, but I also want to work. So I applied for the university. We should go for the entrance exam again for the grad school. It's not just, you know, you go and apply, you should have this exam. And I also started applying for a job. So I started both. So I started, you know, doing my master and also work a little bit. And at the end, you know, I became full-time for the master, and then I kind of start part-time with the job, and then I quit my job and I finished my master. So it's exactly, you need to know what you want, but it's exactly like that. I know that all of you here, it's very amazing that you can go directly for PhD. You have an option to do, you know, direct PhD, but it's good that you experience a little bit, getting more courses, explore more to see what you want to do, because undergrad you don't have that much time, you know, you have a lot of course, you don't know either you want to do research or not. But I think master and PhD gives you a chance of seeing, wow, what amazing work you can do with doing your own research. You can think differently. So I definitely encourage everyone to go to grad school, because it's different and it's amazing experience. You become independent. There's things that you experience that you never have that experience through your job. So I really encourage you to do that.
I'd like to add upon this. So if you're in your undergraduate and you're having double minds on whether to do a PhD or master's or research, so there are some options for undergrads. You can there are many labs in universities, so you can either join as an REU. REU is research experience for undergraduates. You have done that, right? So this gives you like direct experience working with PhD students. What is their life? What is like writing research papers? What is research actually? And if there is no RU positions, you can just go and volunteer for free, and that's fine. Just 1 or 2 hours working in a lab, you can experience a lot. And if you are more curious, I think, but you're still confused, then you can go and do a master's with a thesis. So as I did. So that gives you an experience of doing a small research in your master's. And if you're super curious and you know that you want to do a PhD, so just go and do a direct PhD.
Yeah, I'd like to add another point. So I agree both of you. And besides, I don't think master degree is waste of time. I don't think so, because for the master, during the master study, you still take courses, and during these 2 or 3 years period of time, you learn from, you work with PhD students, you talk with professors, and you have better idea what a PhD study would look like. Then it helps you to decide whether PhD is really something that you want. And at the same time, you still take courses. And then if you determine to pursue your PhD, all these courses can be counted towards your PhD study, your PhD degree. And then on top of that, you spend 2 or 3 more years to work on some projects, then this whole package gives you a PhD degree. So, and besides, I don't think it's a rare thing to have people to get their master degree first and then pursue the PhD, because you can just go to the website of the faculty members of our department. You will find that many of us actually first get our master degree first and then get our PhD degree second. So it happens frequently.
So we talk about PhD a lot. Oh, by the way, this can be a discussion. So at any point, if any of you have any question, please raise your hand and I pass the microphone. Any questions? Okay. My next question is, so PhD usually takes a few years, 4 to 6 years, right? Sometimes more for people. And I want to know how it goes. Like, how you start and how you finish. Like, what do you expect from this long journey? Anyone?
I can do that. As recently graduated, it's all a blur at this point. But so 6 years is a long time, and so it does require some stamina. We call the third and fourth year when we have our existential crisis. Did we make the right decision? Should we have gone for the master's? Should we keep on in the program? Because it's at this point, many of our friends and colleagues are already graduating from their master's programs, so you see their Instagrams or their Facebooks pop up, etc. Or many of them went for a law degree or a medical degree, and so you see them pop up, and you're still in grad school, right? So it takes a lot of stamina, and the important thing is to know that everybody experiences sometime during their PhD this existential crisis. The first year, it's a lot of pressure to publish your first paper, and you will always have this internal criteria for what you want to put out into the world. But at some time, you have to kind of lower that and just push something out, because it's not always about the end product, it's about going through the process, going from A to B on the full research cycle. Because by the end of those 6 years, you'll have gone through that cycle so quickly that you can now publish papers, write, and think about these really important ideas for your dissertation. For me, it took me 2 years to publish my first paper, and that was long. By the time that I graduated, I was publishing a paper every 3 months. And so this is kind of, it's kind of like you work a muscle. You have to keep practicing and going through the full motions. And I think that's one way to build the endurance that you need to last those 6 years. And there are, of course, extreme high points. I don't want to make it feel like it's always kind of this resistance that you're going